Hello, this is Josh Runyon from the USFCA Collegiate Committee with an educational video about the formula that will be used to evaluate NCAA fencers beginning in the 2022-2023 season. In March of 2022, the NCAA Championship Committee voted to replace the old FSF formula with a new formula. The formula that we use is important. It is used to evaluate a fencer's season. The results is used with regionals to qualify fencers to nationals. It is also used for at-large selection to nationals. Additionally, it seeds regionals and is one of the metrics for next season's power ratings. The new formula's description has been circulating since it's been under consideration and will be made available by the NCAA. It continues to use the existing power ratings that have been in place with just small changes for a number of years. The idea behind the new formula uses a system of dividing fencers' bouts into three strength categories of low, medium, and hard. The result of how they do in these categories provides their performance. Low bouts are those with power ratings of 1 to 20. Medium bouts are those with power ratings of 40 to 70. And high bouts are those with power ratings of 80 and above. These roughly correspond to USA fencing ratings of D and below for the low category, C and B for the medium category, and A and above for the high category. The result will be called Season Performance Index, or SPI. The final part of the basics behind the formula is that each category is assigned a number of points, roughly 30 points for the low category, 40 points for the medium category, and 50 or more points for the high category. A fencer will get a percentage of these points based on their in-category win percentage. The primary goal of the next part of the presentation is to inform coaches of how they should slightly rethink two things under the new formula: scheduling and power ratings. Starting with scheduling, what should a coach do? Very simply, have your fencers fence some bouts in each category and win the bouts they fence. Winning additional bouts will never hurt and will continue to improve their SPI, though the rate of improvement in a category will slow down. Therefore, winning the first few low and medium bouts will provide the most value. Getting your strong fencers many high-level bouts to prove themselves is also of the most importance. We could look at a lot of numbers, but those are the simple scheduling incentives that should guide you as a coach. Next, we will look at power ratings. We will identify a problem with it in the old formula and how we are going to avoid that problem in the new formula. As we start talking about power ratings, a reminder that there is no change this year for the numbers in the chart. It is necessary to have a starting point, and that is what power ratings provide. The problem with power ratings is that having a high power rating is a disadvantage. For example, two fencers with different power ratings have identical seasons. They each fence each other twice, and each fencer wins once. You'd expect the formula result to be the same, but the one with a high power rating will have a worse formula result in both the new and the old formula than the one with the lower power rating, unless we put in a correction. The solution is to provide a power rating credit. This is done by adding a small percentage of the power rating to the Season Performance Index. Now we need to figure out what percentage credit to provide. We did this by crunching a lot of numbers, simulating seasons with different power ratings. We also simulated seasons with different numbers of bouts. After running all these simulations, 5% gave a good number for negating the disadvantage of a high power rating. What does this mean to you as a coach? A couple things. Because there is no longer an incentive for letting power ratings slip, there is no longer a reason fencers shouldn't continue to fence USA Fencing NACs, Junior Olympics, ROCs, and even internationally. Secondly, coaches should continue to accurately report power ratings at the beginning of the season. Now there's an incentive to diligently check all the tables the NCAA provides to ensure you're getting it right. For coaching changes, we looked at scheduling and power ratings. Overall, we think the changes for coaching are minor in the way a coach will operate, but they do create better incentives. This is the end of coaching considerations. If you're not interested in the nuts and bolts of the formula, you can stop here. If you are interested in some more details of how it works, including some tweaks to the basics of the formula, we have some more information. A fencer does not start this season with an SPI of 0. Instead, they start in a position of what we call a constructive median fencer. Think of an average fencer. They start with some victories and some defeats to give them some points in the low and medium categories. These values end up being 20 points in the low category, 20 points in the medium category. They get 0 victories and 0 points in the high category, so they must earn all those points. As bouts are added during the season, the value of the categories moves up and down appropriately depending on if they are winning or losing. By the time the fencer gets to the minimum of 21 bouts, we have a fairly accurate assessment of how they performed for the season. If they get more bouts, it should become more accurate. A fencer with a perfect result in a perfect season and a decent number of bouts can realistically capture 8 additional points in the low category, 17 points in the medium category, and up to about 55 points in the high category if fencing many very strong fencers. Now let's review the results of winning and losing on SPI. The result of winning against a low category fencer is to get more points for the low category and therefore a higher SPI. Note that this solves the problem area of the old formula. The effect of winning against a medium category fencer is the same. The effect of winning against a strong category fencer is similar except more pronounced. Since it is a heavier weighted category, these wins help the most. Also, if the bout is a high power rated fencer, the weight of the category will increase, which provides a reward for a more difficult strength of season. The effect of losing in the low category is what is expected, though there is an exception which will be covered later. The same is true with the medium level bouts. Losing against the high category fencer works slightly differently. If a fencer has not won any bouts in this category, they have 0 points, and losing will just keep them at 0. If they have some wins, then losing will lower the SPI, but less so if they fence stronger opponents, because that increases the value of the category. This works well up to a power rating of 120. For power-rated opponents of 140 and 150, it is sometimes possible that losing doesn't drop the SPI. This is because, as their winning percentage goes down, their strength of schedule is going up. This is very rare. Many fencers don't even get a 140 or 150 fencer during the season. For example, in the 2019-2020 season, there were only 4 140 fencers and no 150 fencers. Overall, the new formula nicely handles strength of schedule in this high category. Next, we're going to cover a tweak that was made to improve the formula slightly. Seeing how strength of season worked in the high category, led to looking for a way to make a similar adjustment in the low and medium category. This meant in the low category, it'd be good to give more credit when fencing a 20 power rating rather than a 1. In the medium category, it'd be good to give more credit when fencing a 70 power rating rather than a 40. We found we could give a small credit while still allowing victories and defeats to raise and lower the SPI. The number turned out to be 5%. 5% more for the bouts above the median and 5% penalty for the bouts below the median. Finally, we included a tweak for one abnormal situation. Recall that we start with a constructive medium fencer. As they get bouts in each category, we will have an accurate assessment of how they performed by the time they get to the minimum of 21 bouts. As we said in the first part of the video, it is important for a fencer to get a few bouts in all the categories. But what if a fencer doesn't? This could happen for a variety of reasons, including those that are beyond the coach's or fencer's control. For example, the scheduled meet with a developing team or teams is canceled for weather, or as happened recently, a pandemic. In this case, we have a pretty good solution. We can assume that if they had a better record in a stronger category, they would have done the same if they had more bouts to prove themselves in the less difficult category. Therefore, if the win percentage is better, it will be transferred from higher to lower. The incentive remains to schedule and win bouts in each category because transferring is a harder way to get the points for lower categories. The reasons are that the bouts are against better fencers. Also, it uses the modified win percentage, which begins lower. For example, if a fencer won 14 of 18 bouts in the high category, then it is modified to 14 of 20 bouts, or 70%. 70% would then control the other categories if they have a lower modified win percentage. The correction looks like this with the 70% controlling. Here is an example with the low category being deficient, the win percentage transferring from the median category. This ends the presentation, or at least it ends it for now. Keep in mind that there's always room for improvement with a formula. You may see modifications in the coming seasons. Please email if you have any questions. Thank you, and we hope you found this helpful.